What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the very first Q&A or question and answers video. I get a lot of the exact same questions over and over and over, so I thought I could make these Q&A videos to kind of answer them all at once for people. Also so I can point people to them. So the first question that I'm going to answer here, and then also as I answer these questions, the first ones are just ones that I've personally found, but as we go on, if you want, you can ask questions in the comments, and the next time I make one of these videos, I'll try to answer at least mostly those questions, the questions that are asked in the comments. So the first question I usually get is, how did you learn Python? And not only how did you learn, but how do you learn Python nowadays? Like, because I get a lot of requests for like book recommendations and stuff like this. So first of all, a little bit about me. I have been self-employed since I was 12 years old. I have had part-time jobs along the way. My last job was as a waiter, and that place ended up going out of business. At the time, I was working like 2 days a week or something just for some side cash. By that point, I already had my own businesses, and I was making almost enough money to survive. I just didn't want to quit my job, but eventually that place actually went out of business, and then from that point on, I just worked for myself. So I'd always been self-employed, but I paid a programmer to make websites for me and do the things that I wanted done. But eventually I came up with the idea for what is now Sentdex.com, which is sentiment analysis for stocks and other things. And the web developer I had at the time was not going to be doing natural language processing. They had no interest in it. They couldn't do it. So I decided I'll do it myself. And so I found that Python had the module or library called NLTK, which is the Natural Language Toolkit. And nltk.org/book is a great book for learning how to use NLTK, and it has kind of an introduction that is an introduction to Python even. So that actually served as my intro to Python, was that NLTK book, basically. So a perfect introduction for me, probably a horrible introduction for most people, but that's why I usually tell people, like, you want to get off the basics as soon as possible and actually start working on something that interests you, because the basics are boring. The basics aren't applicable really directly, immediately to anything that you might be interested in. So, and in most cases, you can usually just like learn the true basics, like if statements and variables and functions and that kind of stuff. Once you learn that stuff, like, get out and like do something, because that's how you're actually going to learn. Anyway, that's how I learned Python. Nowadays, I really just kind of Google everything. So I don't have any formal computer science or mathematics or anything background, but I just use Google. Like, I just look it up, and Google has information on anything you could possibly want, but especially programming. The programmer community is incredibly willing to share things. So that brings us to the second question. Maybe even this one's the more common question I get, and that is, what do you do for a living? So what I do for a living is I've always just run online businesses. That's just kind of always been my forte. Lately, it's been most of my like base income comes from Python Programming.net and the YouTube channel, just from like ad revenue. I can relatively comfortably estimate how much money I'm going to make on the YouTube channel and Python Programming.net. So I make money from advertising, and then on Python Programming.net from the subscribers with +=1. So I make an okay base salary, at least enough to like pay the bills, right? And then beyond that, I get contracting and consulting jobs. So if someone comes to me and has something that sounds interesting or something, I'll take those on. But for the most part, I really enjoy working on Python Programming.net. And a lot of people ask me, like, why do you do that? Why don't you go start a business? As if, first of all, as if Python Programming.net isn't a business, but also as if it's like really simple to just go and start a business and be a billionaire or something. It's really not that easy. And also, as someone who like spent much of my life starting businesses and running online businesses, it's actually really difficult to find something that you're good at, you actually enjoy doing, and you get some sort of like reward from it that isn't monetary as well. So with the YouTube channel, I get like pretty much everything plus more. So like with the YouTube channel, first of all, I get to learn new things constantly. If I wasn't doing the YouTube channel and Python Programming.net, I would not be anywhere near the programmer that I am today. So if I wasn't doing that, I wouldn't have learned all these things myself. And because one of the best ways to really like learn something is to teach it. And if you try to teach something that you don't really know, it quickly like First of all, it solidifies what you do know, and it shines a light on what you don't know. And if you're oblivious to something that you didn't know, eventually someone's going to watch that video and comment and tell you that you're stupid, right? And so that happens. And thanks to some of those sometimes jerk viewers, but sometimes like they're good people. They give you information and you actually learn just from the fact that you shared. And that's why like peer review is often thought of as like a good thing to do. It can be painful because sometimes people are really mean, but at the same time, if you do peer review of code and stuff like that, it will make you a better programmer over time. So for me, I get to learn new things. I get to like focus on whatever I want to focus on. I get to learn new things over time. I get to help people. And for the most part, like 99.9% of the people I interact with in regards to pythonprogramming.net are like super positive and like pleasant people to be around, as opposed to other businesses that I've run. So for example, with Sentdex.com, it's a cool business. I really like the data analysis aspect to it. It's a lot of fun to like dive into that kind of big data. But at the same time, at the end of the day, to make money, what I have to do is sell that data to either institutions or individuals themselves. And that can be kind of a challenge. So with institutions, you're usually dealing with like finance firm types of people. And I don't mean to like offend anybody really, but the people in the world of finance, like too many of those people are betas who either think they're alphas or think that they need to act like alphas to fit in because that's what you're supposed to do because they've seen like movies or something like that. So those people are just not fun to deal with. And then also there is a lot of people that as they're like interested in buying the data, I just know when speaking to them that they're not going to get anything from the data. Like they don't know how to properly make use of the data. And I'm not here to teach you how to use the data. I'm just here to sell you the data that you want access to. So I don't know. It wasn't fulfilling to me. Like I made money doing it, but it just wasn't fulfilling. And I actually still have, I have sources that still, take the data. Like if you're on Quantopian, for example, you can get access to the data for like $20 a month or something. So it's at least super cheap and it's easy to play around, and there's like a free stream of it too. So you can figure out if it's actually going to be worth it to you. So that's just kind of like worked out. But to get back to the point of like business, like running a business is, first of all, most businesses will just fail. But if you can find a business that you really enjoy doing and you have a passion for it and you make money at it and you're good at it and you're helping people at the same time, it just seems like, well, let's hold on to that. And in the meantime, we can look for other things, but I get so much value back from pythonprogramming.net that's why I do it. I just really, really like doing it. And also in terms of recommendations that I have for people, a lot of people ask me, like when they're asking on the topic of how do you learn Python and stuff, don't forget that one of the ways that I'm learning Python and improving myself is by teaching Python. So I usually suggest to people that you should do the same. You should have like a blog or maybe even a YouTube channel. Like try to do that because that'll also get you exposure. So the other thing, not only do I get contracting and consulting offers, I get job offers. Like every week I get multiple job offers, and usually they're like to smaller companies and stuff. But in the last couple months, I've had an offer from Apple and Facebook, and probably those are the two like biggest companies that you would even know about, but many other companies beyond that. And I'm not reaching out to these companies. Like I'm not even applying. They're coming to me and they're finding me. And so you can pretty much do the same, or you can reach out, and if you have something to show them that like, hey, this is what I've been doing, that's what they want to see. And if you look at like what Google applications want or Facebook or whatever, they want a portfolio. Like that's what they actually want to see 9 times out of 10. They care about like the other stuff on your resume, but for the most part, they want to see what you do and what you actually know. Anyway, that will wrap up the first Q&A. Hopefully that was slightly enlightening to some of you. As I said before, if you have questions that you want me to answer, just comment below and I'll answer them. I still have quite a few other questions that I get like all the time that I'm going to answer, but these first two, or at least the second one, took me a long time to get through. So I'm going to cut it off here. Anyway, questions below, and otherwise I will see you in the next tutorial or question and answer video. Who knows?